Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. I'm so happy you've joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show.
This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 359.
Welcome to Garrett Wilfong on today's episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Garrett is 19 years old, and he's a hunting fool. He's passionate about archery hunting, and he's also passionate about life. And he thanks his dad, who taught him everything he knows about hunting and fishing. There's a few things he's picked up along the way by himself, but without his dad's guidance and mentorship, he wouldn't be the person he is today. Garrett, it's going to be a great show.
It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Hey, we're heading out to Missouri, and we're going to connect with Garrett Wilfong. And Garrett is part of the pro staff team at Whitetail Stalker. Hey, Garrett, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
And I'm excited to have you because I love talking to younger people about, why they love hunting. And one of the biggest things I ask them is, hey, you're a hunter, you're posting on social media, so everybody knows you love to hunt. But what do you say to people who come up to you and go, you're a hunter, really?
Well, it's just one of those things you got to experience you got to go out and just do it. You can't experience unless you go out and do it. It's such a rush. I mean, for someone who doesn't go out there and hunt, they're not going to get why it's so fun. But once you get out there and try it once, you'll be hooked.
So what do you tell them if they really get on you and say, I don't believe in hunting. I don't know why you should go out and kill stuff and then you eat it. What do you tell those people?
Well, I go to church, and in the Bible, I believe that they said, God put those animals on this earth for us to hunt and for us to eat. So that's what they're here for, and our enjoyment to hunt them. So
that's kind of your answer?
Yeah. They were put here on this earth for a reason, and I believe that was the reason.
And because, as you and I believe, we're stewards. And the biggest thing I tell people, I said, I hunt because I love to go to wild places. I hunt because I love to eat and share the meat that I get. But I love to hunt because I'm part of what makes this whole thing work. And I get glassed over, eyes on that. But, listeners, if somebody, gets in your face or hits you up, they're just not being conversationalists. They're kind of challenging you why you're a hunter. Think about that and have your elevator pitch, your 20, 10, 15, 20, 30-minute spiel out, because you're going to be asked. Hunters are, we're under fire just because we hunt and just because we eat. I just had Chef Derek St. Romain on, and he's got 7 kids, and he doesn't buy any meat. He gets venison and wild pigs, and that's what they eat. So, enough of that little rant on my end. But, Garrett, let's talk about the hunting tradition and warm up. You said, your dad and your grandfather, got you started. So let's go back to when you got started and tell us that story.
Yeah, well, I first got started. My first deer I ever killed, I think I was about 10 or 11. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go with my dad because he had just went under a back surgery. So I had to go with a family friend down in West Plains on his land. And we were sitting in a box blind on this field, and I fell asleep. Being as young as I am, I fell asleep. And I woke up, and my friend told me, he said, "Hey, be still. There's a couple deer over here." And I looked over, and there was like 13 or 14 deer standing in the field there. And that's the most deer I've ever seen in the field before hunting. And I got real excited. And I was using my grandpa's open sight 30-30. And he was carrying a rifle also. And the deer was probably only 60 or 70 yards away. And we had to switch seats. And I pulled my 30-30 up there and was getting ready to shoot at it. And he asked me if I wanted to use his gun since it had a scope. And I said, sure. And so we switched guns, and there's a bolt action 30-06, I believe. And I just put the crosshairs on it, squeezed the trigger, and it dropped. And all the other deer ran off, and that's how I got started with it, and been hooked ever since.
Okay, so you get your first deer down. Now what happened?
Well, he helped me clean it and everything because I had never done anything like that before, and he didn't really show me because we were kind of in a rush, and we packed it in the cooler, and I came back home, and well, I don't think I killed another deer that year, but the next year I was ready to go. I couldn't hardly sleep all year long waiting to go, and finally came around, and I did end up going hunting with my dad that next year.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And, what are some of the lessons learned that your dad or grandfather, taught you that you carry forward to this day and that you're sharing with your friends and the team members at Whitetail Stalker?
Yeah, well, some lessons I've learned, or especially in the early season, I feel like that the deer are looking for water because it's early September. Well, that's when bow season opens here in Missouri. It's still pretty hot, and they're looking for something to drink. So, I think you should set up somewhere close to a water hole, or by a bedding area where they're going to be coming in and out of it.
And how do you set up there?
That all depends on what it's like. If it's near a field, I might make myself a little natural ground blind, or if it's pretty wooded and open, I'll use a hang-on stand. I kind of got away from climbers because carrying them in and out is kind of loud. So I've went to hang-on stands, and I really like them.
And so when you decide, especially over waterhole, because I hunt, I live out west, and if it's really a dry year, I'll hunt elk over waterhole. Why? Because they come in there and they drink, but they'll also seeps and springs in dark timber, they'll make wallows. And just think of a wallow like a big, wet, muddy scrape. Kind of sort of the same thing, does kind of sort of the same thing. So when you think of that, talk me through how you select, where you're going to put your stand in relationship to terrain and wind.
Well, I really like to. One of the things my dad taught me was, the deer get funneled in with my kills and stuff. They get funneled into a point, and if you can find a watering hole that's at the end of a point, or at the mouth of a bowl kind of like thing, that I just think that's a real good hot spot for them, and you're liable to see quite a few deer coming in and out of their early season.
So what if there isn't a big oak tree, maple tree, hardwood tree, close enough? How do you mix it up so you can, get a stand set so you can take advantage of that water hole?
What do you mean by that?
Well, so the water hole, it's a funnel, they get funneled into there. Now, how do you decide what tree you're going to put your hang on in?
Well, I like something that, especially when you're bow hunting, I don't like to shoot real long distance yet because I don't practice a whole lot with school and everything, but I typically like to get within 20, 30 yards pushing it, or that's as far as I want to go. And I want a tree that, I can get pretty high up in, so that way if the wind's blowing a little bit, it's a better chance of my scent getting blew over the top of the deer instead of in their face. And, if it's allowable, I like something with quite a few limbs on it with a lot of leaves. It gives a lot of good cover.
So you pick a tree that has the type of cover on it, especially early season. Do you cut shooting lanes, or how do you, once you get your hang on up there, how do you prepare for shooting?
Yeah, I clear some shooting lanes. I like to leave a little bit on there, quite a bit on there, because I just feel like that's more protection that I'm going to have from them seeing me, draw my bow and everything. And, if you're hunting over a water hole and they're coming in there, that's pretty well where they're going. So you really only need one or two shooting lanes, in the front there at the water hole. You might have a couple off the other directions, but for the most part, I believe if they're coming in there towards the water hole, they're going to stop there, especially if it's hot.
So being a young hunter yourself, what are 2 or 3 things you would tell somebody just starting out, guy or gal, that they need to really pay attention to if they want to be a successful whitetail hunter?
First thing is wind. you got to pay attention to the wind because deer can smell like anything. And, if you don't have a good scent cover, then they'll smell you and they'll never even come within shooting range. Second thing I'd tell someone is, find good cover. They can see good too. It's one of those things that if you're not in good cover, they'll see you. With a lot of cover, you can get away with a little more movement, I believe. And the third thing I'd tell someone is probably do quite a bit of scouting. You can't just walk out and throw your stand in any old tree and expect to see a deer. You got to go out there and do some scouting, look for signs, and figure out where they're coming from and where they're headed to, and put game cameras out or something. That'll really help pattern the deer and figure out where they're going and at what times, and help you pick your spot.
Sounds like you know what you're doing too. There's a lot of information to share, isn't there?
Yeah, whole bunch.
So in the warm up, you said, I really enjoy taking my girlfriend out hunting. I'm really passionate about that, and I can hear that in your voice. And so let's talk about how you approached your girlfriend and how you got her, out in the woods with you.
Well, the first time we ever went hunting together was I was 15 years old, and I think we'd been together either a year or two, and we stayed at my grandma's house, just about an hour north of where I live, and we were going turkey hunting, and we got up. I was so excited because she was going to go with me for the first time, and we got up probably an hour and a half before the sun came up, and our hunting spot was only probably 20 minutes away. So we drove out there, and me being only 15, I couldn't drive yet, so I didn't have a vehicle, and she's a couple years older than me, so she had a car. She had a blue four-door Cobalt that we took out there, and we sat there for probably 45 minutes waiting for the sun to come up, just talking. And we got out, and I hooted a couple times and never heard nothing, and so we just took off walking down the logging road there, and finally heard one, and so we took off to it and got set up on it and called it in, and there's a little rise in the hill, and I thought it was another lesson learned. I thought it was going away from us, and so we got up and was getting ready to head towards it, and it gobbled again. Turns out that it was actually coming closer, so we had to sit back down real quick, and it came over the hill just about the time I laid down, and I shot it and killed it. And that was the first time we ever went hunting together.
So is she still hunting with you, or did you say that was fun? But
no, she loved it. She thought it was amazing. That's the first time she'd ever been turkey hunting, and I think it's actually the first time she's ever seen a turkey in the woods. She's seen them driving down the road, but she's never heard one gobble or seen one strutting or heard it drumming, and it got her real excited. And she's been every year since then, but we haven't been successful yet in getting her one. But we're trying, and we'll go back out this year and try again.
So when she talks to her friends about, going hunting with a boyfriend, what are some of the comments she makes?
Well, I'm not much in her girl life when she talks to her girlfriends, but I'd probably say that she'd say it's real exciting, and just, she's not much of a morning person, but I'd say she says when she gets out there and she hears them gobbling, it's pretty exciting, pretty good rush, and it's just something that once you experience it, you just want to keep going, and I believe that's what happened to her. She got a little taste of it there when I killed that one, and she's hooked. I believe she'll go every year from now on.
That's great. I love hearing that. And what about taking youth out? What's that story all about?
Well, my dad took me as a youth multiple times, and I couldn't count the amount of times that he took me turkey hunting or deer hunting, and I missed several times. It took me several years to kill my first turkey with him, and we actually got that one on video, and it's just something you'll never forget. And it's just, I'd love to see young people kill one. The look on their face, it's priceless. You know, my girlfriend's little brother just last year was his last year at youth hunt, I believe, and so I'm looking for a new partner to take youth hunting now.
Well, how are you going to find one?
There's plenty of kids around here. I'm sure I can find one. You know, I live in a small town of 350 people, so we all know each other, and I'm sure there's somebody who won't get the opportunity to go. So maybe I can slip in there and take them or something.
So when you go to, some parents of a kid from church or wherever, and you say, hey, I'd like to take your son or even your daughter out hunting, what do they usually say to you?
Well, you know, as every parent, they're concerned with their safety and, you know, what's all going to be happening and when they're going to be picked up, when they're going to be back. But, you know, we'll sit there and talk about it for multiple weeks in advance and before season, and we try to get it worked out to where they can go.
And so do you have a format, or do you make sure that they get their hunter safety card? I mean, how do you get them ready, to go out in the woods with you?
Yeah, I talk it over with the parents and make sure that they're aware of, what the cost will be for the tags and all that stuff. And, it's a process, but, if you can get the process done and get them their tags and everything, and get the chance to take them, it's, just another chance that they'll get hooked just like my girlfriend. And maybe one day in a few years, you'll see them out in the woods.
Well, I'd love to see that. And let's switch up gears and talk about Whitetail Stalker. One, as a young person, how you get chosen to be on the team. And the other thing is how and what are you doing for them?
Well, it's actually a funny story how I got on the team. My father is also on the team, Vic Wilfong. And this past year, I always see him talking about it and talking to the guys on the team. And I was actually out shed hunting and came across a nice set of sheds and took a picture of them and sent them to him. And he posted them on the Whitetail Stalker page, and Mike got a hold of him and asked him if I'd be interested in joining the team because there was a spot or two open. And, I'd more than happy to be on the team. And so I told Dad yes, and a couple of the guys on the team were real helpful and helped me get my Facebook page set up and everything rolling, and here I am.
Well, thanks for that. And so what do you do, as a Whitetail Stalker pro staffer?
Well, we, post pictures of our successful hunts, and we try to get videos of it. And we're here for, tips and ideas, and here to help you with any kind of question you have about hunting, help you be successful.
So so you're on pro staffer Whitetail Stalker. Do you have any specific products that you like and use and share with all the people?
Oh yeah. Jack's Mountain Custom Calls. We pro staff for them, and great calls. Probably the best sounding calls I've ever had for sure. And fly and arrow archery, toxic broadheads. That's what I shoot out of my bow, and it's just unbelievable what kind of damage they'll do to a deer. And as long as you put a good shot on them, they're not going to go far.
Let's talk about your hunting setup. Your bows. You just said you use toxic broadheads. And so let's talk about how you set up and then the clothes you wear.
Yeah. Well, I'm shooting a PSC Sinister at the moment. Got that a couple of years ago as a Christmas present and got it all set up. My girlfriend got me some nice arrows, and I have a ghillie suit that I wear at the moment. I'm looking into getting some treason camo. I hear the guys talking about how great it is, and if it's that good, I definitely want to get in on it.
You should get in on it. I'm a treason fan, and just give a shout out for Treason Cobb Sanders and Tina Kane Mike Pierce, and on and on and on, about 120 Trees and Tribe people. So I can't say them all, but folks, if you're looking for camo gear that'll blow your socks away, both in quality and it just lasts, and it's built to last, but it's built to work. And we get a lot of people in the field that are using Trees and Camo. So give it a try. You might be very surprised. And thanks for that little shout out, because camo is important. Before, what are you using now for your camo? Is it carbon or is it just regular camo?
I think it's just regular camo. It's just one of those ghillie suits I bought from Bass Pro a couple years ago, and it's about time to update. It's got a few holes in it, and I think it works real good for turkey hunting. But it's I'm assuming the treason's as good as everyone says it is. So I'm definitely looking to get some, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be better than this ghillie suit I have.
Well, it all works, and there was a brothers called the Benoit brothers up in Maine, and they hunted in the traditional red plaid that everybody's seen, at least my age has seen. The plaid shirts and the hat and the pants, all made of wool, and they get on a track, and that's what they wore, and they were successful. They still hunted, whitetails for years and years, and then, as we know, the industry has exploded with different camo patterns and different choices. But you'd be surprised if you play the wind right, what you can get away with non-camo. Let's just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of tricking whitetails, what's your best kept secret?
I'd say my best kept secret is definitely getting your scent put away. You get rid of that. We can't smell it, but there are so many odors that are on our clothes just from even if you keep your clothes outside on a line or something, and then stick them in a bag, and you don't get dressed until the woods. There's still odors from your truck on you, or just a lot of things that you don't see with your smell on you that the deer can.
So we're about ready to wrap up, and so just take a couple of minutes here and give some shout outs to whomever you want, Whitetail Stalker, Toxic Broadhead, whatever, and then we're going to close the show.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Mike and Shelly. They're great people to work with. This coming weekend, we got the Iowa Deer Classic coming up.
Are you going to be there?
Forward to Yep.
Well, I'm driving all the way from Colorado to be there, so I expect to see you, sir.
Yep, I'll see you there. But yeah, they're wonderful people to work with. Just great people, and I'd like to give a shout out to Flying Arrow Archery, to the broadheads. Great broadheads and Trees and Camo. Really looking forward to getting some. And Jack's Mountain calls, great calls. You ought to get you one and try it.
Well, Garrett, this has just been fun, and thank you for being passionate about hunting. You're a millennium. I think that's a correct expression, or for your time period. Is that correct?
You know just as much as I do.
Well, anyway, I think let's just call people your age, and I just love having people of all ages on Whitetail Rendezvous, and we got listeners across North America that'll enjoy your show. So on behalf of thousands of listeners of Whitetail Rendezvous, thank you, sir, for being on the show, and I'm excited to meet you in person at the Iowa Whitetail Deer Classic. This show has already come and gone. The Iowa Deer Classic come and gone, but we had one heck of a time.
Yep, I'm definitely looking forward to it there, and I'll be planning on seeing you.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Art Helland's going to be my guest. I caught up with Art at the Iowa Deer Classic, and he shared some of his stories and what he's been doing for the last 30 years in the whitetail world.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.